just a minute and we'll get started. This is our weekly coaching call for Thursday, September 9th, 2021. All right. And okay, we should be good. Yeah, welcome. Got a little different background here. I've got my desk, my table turned. This is my community art project here in the background that I'm doing this season. It's been up for the summer and I'll leave it up through the fall, I think. I deserve to take up space. That is a very important declaration we all need to make. And recently I actually have created a new mantra for myself that is that I am taking up space, because I think this is just a side note. I'll go on this tangent here because I think it's relevant in general to this process that I'm taking you all through. That, you know, sometimes we have a mantra, you know, an I am statement, something like that, that we need in the moment, that we need for a few weeks, a few months, or even a few years. And then that mantra, that I am statement, kind of does its job and we move on to something else. So this sense of this phrase, I deserve to take up space, for me, it's sort of this battle cry that's like, I'm going to claim what I deserve. Like when we come out of an abusive relationship, you know, we're aware of the abuse and we've got all this knowledge and, you know, increased awareness and insight. And it's like this, I am woman, hear me roar kind of mentality. And like, I deserve this. I'm going to claim everything that I deserve. And now I realized, you know, I was, you know, I've been in a phase for a while, you know, years of this, I deserve to take up space. And I realized recently I am taking up space. And of course I can always take up more space in the sense of, you know, putting my voice out there and being heard and just claiming my right to share my thoughts and beliefs and to explore who I am and my interests and just do what I want to do in life. I can always grow more into that. But as far as what my goals have been for a long time, for the past few years, I am doing that. I am taking up that space that I had dreamed of and those goals that I've made for myself. So I still really love this concept of I deserve to take up space. But I've realized for me also, it's been important to remind myself, wait, I am taking up space. I am here. So I would love for you all to consider, you know, certain mantras or I am statements that are powerful for you. Consider if you're already there, like, you know, some mantras like I am enough and I am worthy. We tell ourselves that even if we don't believe it yet, right? That's the power of mantras. And then over time we believe it. Like now I believe I deserve to take up space and I am doing it. But I still need to tell myself I am taking up space to be fully rooted and grounded in that. So I'm curious for you, maybe some mantras you've been saying to yourself, maybe some statements to counter some of your limiting beliefs. Maybe you are there and are believing it now, and it's time to tweak it so you can believe something even better for yourself. So just a side note that was prompted by me realizing my background is that artwork right now. I'm going to keep it pretty brief today. I'm actually going to double check and make sure I didn't have any questions because I forgot to do that. I'm going to look on the Facebook group here. Actually, before I get to what I want to talk about, just a couple of sort of announcements. This is probably a premature announcement, but I would like to go ahead and say it, that, okay, hold on. I'm going to make sure I didn't have any questions. Oh, I didn't. Okay. So, second. Just had a new member join, which I had not seen this morning. Okay. Oh my goodness, all over the place today. So I am going to be pivoting, kind of tweaking the goal of this group over the next few months. And you all will hear way more about that as I do it. But I really want to focus us on some bigger goal of some creative project or even, you know, creative business. I know at least one member has had sort of a long-term goal of something like that. One group member already has her own business. Doesn't necessarily have to be business oriented, but some sort of creative project, creative thing that you're wanting to launch or put out into the world. It could be make a quilt. It could be make some note cards and sell them at an art fair. You know, it could be, you know, do some doodle drawings on your iPad and just share them on social media with your friends. or it could be, you know, launching a whole business, like whatever it is. You know, those of you who end up in this group, you have some interest in art and creativity and music and dance and drama and visual art and in the healing arts, you know, massage therapy, other healing therapies. You all have an interest in those things, and that's what led you to this creative type of group. And I really want to help you move towards whatever bigger goals you have in that creative aspect of your life. So I want this to be a little more specifically goal directed, in the sense of not only redefining your identity and building your confidence, but to redefine your identity and build your confidence so that you can pursue these things. So I know I've prompted you to set goals each session, but I really want to add in some additional supports to help you kind of move towards like bigger goals you have as you finish out the sessions here in the program. Okay, so that was kind of vague, hopefully not too confusing, but I'm going to be developing that more and more over the next few months. Also eventually have a goal to move this program to an app so that our community aspect doesn't have to be on Facebook. Something I am going to be sending you all some messages about this coming week is that I'd like to start a group Facebook message where we can just dialogue, where we can chat throughout the week. And I think that could help build some of that community component of what I'm hoping for from an app where you can message like that. We can do that here within the Facebook group for time being, or just within Facebook, the Facebook platform, by having a private group message. If you have Messenger, if you don't, and you're interested in this, you might want to add the Messenger component, add the Messenger app so that you can participate in that. But I'll be reaching out to all of you individually. I believe you all have Messenger because I've contacted each of you via Messenger before. So we're going to be adding that component for now, moving towards more of a focus of launching some sort of creative goal or project, and then eventually moving to an app. So if you stick around with me that long, you'll benefit from all these changes. And I'll probably be asking for input on this as I go along. You know, you all are getting in on kind of the ground floor of this program, and honestly at a pretty reduced price because of that. And I'll be asking for your feedback kind of as a part of that as well. So wanted to run that by you. So today, you know, in the title of this, I said, you know, spirituality and the importance of kind of how spirituality relates to our identity. And I know not everyone is a spiritual person, but that is a component of this program. And I've left it pretty open-ended. You'll see, I believe it's in sessions 3 and 4, where I bring in that spiritual component, that idea of our creator, however you envision that to be, whether it's a general sense of just the universe or some other higher power or God. You know, I'm open and saying that I'm a Christian, and that's my beliefs, you know, but whatever your sense of that higher power is, you know, I think that is very important in our concept of self, because if we believe that there is some higher entity, some higher power that has created the universe, created this world that we live in, and created us in particular, then that changes our view of our value and our worth, because not only do we inherently have value and worth because we exist in this world, and I believe all people deserve to be valued. You know, even those who are committing horrendous crimes, you know, there's some basic sense of dignity that they deserve. They also deserve consequences, just like our abusers deserve consequences for their actions, and they may or may not get that in this lifetime, but they deserve those consequences, right? You know, they also are deserving of some basic level of human dignity as people. And that, if you have an issue with that, I'd love to talk that through with you. That's kind of hard to grasp for many of us who still have a lot of anger towards the abuser or abusers in our life. But I do believe that all people, you know, we are created by a higher power. I believe God, you know, and we all have worth because of that. So that really informs our sense of worth for ourselves, because like I said, it's not just this basic, oh, we all deserve to be equal, we all happen to be here. It's like, no, I was created by a creative creator And then I am a creative person, even if you don't consider yourself an artist. All humans are creative. Our brains are creative. We have this ability that sets us apart from other animals, from other mammals, that we can have these novel thoughts. We can create things. We can imagine things and put them into action in our life. And that's we were created by this creative God, this creative higher power as well. So I hope that makes sense, that is important in our identity, because it sort of puts us in this place, this perspective of, it's not just us here alone. And I tend to point up, we think of heaven or whatever up, whatever is kind of out of our reach, the universe. So yeah, I naturally kind of point up to like envision God, but it doesn't have to be up. It's just around us, right? It's in the spiritual realm. There's this perspective between where we are as humans here in this mortal world and this other entity that has this different perspective, right? So because that higher power has this different perspective on us and our lives, when we can hone in on that and really meditate on those concepts, that gives us a different perspective of things like purpose, of why we're here, things related to, thoughts related to suffering and why we went through what we went through. Again, back to purpose, there is an entity that is looking out for us, that is taking care of us. And there are all these other entities that have affected us in negative ways, but it's so integral to keeping this kind of positive. I never want to talk too much about positivity, like which is a blanket thing, like ignoring the negativity and the uncomfortable emotions and experiences. But I think it does help give us this more positive, more joyful perspective to keep that mindset, to keep that in mind, that there is something greater kind of looking out for us and taking care of us, even when we don't feel it or see it. And so today, I'm going to share just a quick short drawing that I did today, and I'll sum this up. This is kind of all over the place coaching call. Again, please give me your questions and I'll have, something to go off of. I love to answer your questions, even if you're not here live. I'd love to just go back and forth and we can talk live. I can even, coach you individually on the call, and that would benefit others to see that. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, or you just can't make it live, then just submit your question and I can answer that. I want this to be directed at you and what your needs are. But for today, I'll share again a small drawing. I don't have a photo of it, so I'll just hold it up in a second. But this is focused on the idea of spirituality. And I was listening to a podcast that's not really a Christian podcast per se, or a spiritual podcast, but the host of the podcast is someone who is spiritual. And so they were saying that that small mindsets, this is a quote, I think I wrote it down in my journal, small mindsets can't comprehend big visions. And then he said, God gave you this big vision. So stop expecting everyone else to see it. And this idea of kind of protecting your peace and not worrying about all this like negative input from others and what others say about what your dreams and visions are. So kind of this goes back to this idea of really challenging you all to consider a creative project or something that's kind of been percolating inside of you that you've been dreaming of. Like, how can we take steps to grow your confidence to where you could actually pursue that? Part of that is setting aside negativity and how others judge and what they might think of it. Or maybe it's well-intended advice. People aren't trying to be negative, but we might have friends or family members who might unintentionally sort of squash our dreams or our plans, or even our thoughts of just who we are and who we can be. If we want to step up and use our voice in some way, voice our opinions, which is hard when we've been in a narcissistic relationship, right? Even if we want to step up and voice our opinions, we might have friends or family that are not comfortable with that because they're not used to us doing that. And they might sort of kind of squash that vision and dream we have for ourselves of being someone who can stand up and voice our thoughts, So people unintentionally can limit our voice and our vision for our life. But I love this concept of God is the one that gave it to you. So your creator designed you to have these visions and dreams and this desire to just have basic rights and respect, like to be heard. Our creator put this in us So we need to stop expecting other people to see that. Hopefully, as we practice moving towards our vision, whatever that is, they will see that in us and respect that, but we can't control that, right? We can control our actions and our thoughts and our feelings. We can control what's going on with us. So I started this drawing and thinking about that idea of my vision and protecting kind of my vision, protecting my peace and my goals and honing in on that. I found myself drawing this. Again, this is so simple, you all. So I really hope those of you who are feel intimidated by drawing and by sharing it in the group, please notice how simple this is. And I am the coach, the leader, the founder of this program. And I also have a bachelor's degree in fine arts and a master's in art therapy. And this is the drawing that I did, okay? I literally drew lines and colored them in the spaces in between. So it's not about the finished product. It's about expressing what we need to express. So I started drawing these lines, and intuitively, like always, like I tell you all to do, just that's what was coming out of me. And at first I thought, shouldn't this be like a free flowing picture because it's about my visions and dreams? But then I realized as soon as I started drawing it, it felt like bars, like on a jail cell, or bars, you know, on a window for security. And I thought, oh, this is the protection. This is the protection of my vision. And so that came to me pretty quickly. I didn't do a lot of writing with this, but as I've shared before, I tend to sort of think through it as I go sometimes. And then other times I sit down and do pages of writing like I teach you all. But so I just started with colors that I tend to use lately in my art, and they were just the colors that I was drawn to. So I typically use kind of teal, turquoise, or aqua, like a blue color, and the orange. And I've shared before, those represent two different important parts of my personality that really used to fight against each other, and now I think they work together. I added yellow, and then I added red. And so the yellow and red, I wasn't necessarily sure right when I put it down what that was. Actually, kind of the red I was. I've shared before that red for me right now is representing the past pain in my life, like earlier, deeper wounds, more from when I was young, from childhood. And so I've been embracing that and just letting it exist in my artwork and not being afraid to look at that. So I did know the red was the pain. And then I realized the yellow was my light. And I shared last week about a couple of drawings I did where yellow was light. This idea of I am peace, I am free, I am healed. I already have the light within me. So again, that had the red pain too. I believe I shared that on last week's coaching call. But so I did that yellow light again, and then I labeled them. I just, don't be afraid to write on your drawing if that doesn't ruin it for you. I wrote right above my light, the blue, I put my call, like my calling to just, for me, that's career. For some people, their career is not representative of their purpose. Some people have a job that's a job, and then their sense of purpose and meaning in life is somewhere else, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I'm a person who my job, my career, my profession has to be related to my calling, because that's how I was created, how I was designed. That's my personality. And so it is what it is. So my call, the orange is my passion. That's like kind of the passionate parts of me, which is different from my calling, right? So they work together. My calling and my passion are similar, but they are kind of different concepts for me too. And then the red is my pain. So I wrote protecting my light, my pain, my passion, my calling. I'm protecting my light, my pain, my passion, my calling, and protecting it in the sense that it is mine, and nobody can tell me anything about that pain, those past wounds that are not true. It's my pain, it's my experience. My light, the light that I believe my creator, my God, is shining through me, that's my light. Nobody can take that from me. It's my call, my calling. So that is mine to follow and to trust God's guidance with, and nobody can tell me differently on that. And my passion, which I said is really integrated with my calling, but is separate. The causes, the things that I feel passionate about in life, that is something that is mine. Again, I I feel strongly about that, and no one can take that from me. You know, I've had some experiences lately where friends, you know, have trouble with my boundaries around some of those things. Like, for example, values that I hold really strong, like issues of justice and equality and fairness. I will voice my opinions on those things, and I will not participate in activities or socialize with people who are the opposite of that. So not that I expect all people that I'm around to hold my same values, but if someone is abusive or, you know, just blatantly racist, or, you know, I will not associate with those people, okay, on a close level. So of course we interact with the people who have these different values all day, every day, but people who are in my closer inner circle, you know, I don't allow those people in, because that needs to be people who understand me and my values and my passions, right? So I mean, passion could have easily been also had the word values with it for me. Those are intertwined as well. So, and at the bottom I wrote, it's my vision, mine, it's between me and God. So, or God and me would maybe be correct grammar, I don't know. So yeah, so this idea, this image of just protecting it. It is here, it is mine, I am protecting it, and not allowing others to criticize or judge and you know, keep me from living out my passion, my calling, my values, my light that my creator has given me, my spirituality. You know, those are mine. And so this week I want you to really be considering, maybe journal about, do some artwork about this concept of what is yours that maybe has been threatened by others, that they try to judge or squash in you, and you want to come out saying, no, this is me. Or like that concept of, I deserve to take up space, I deserve to say this, I deserve for my voice to be heard, I deserve to claim this is my passion, this is my value, this is my stance on this issue, this is my opinion, whatever it is. You know, what is that for you that you need to protect right now, because others either in the past or currently, you know, are telling you that it's wrong, or they want you to be a certain way. You know, when we have friends or family for a long time, well, we always have family for a long time, I guess, but you know, people that have been in our life for a long time, they get used to us being a certain way, and when we change and grow, they don't always like that, you know. But the truth is, these things about me, they've always been within me, I just didn't always feel comfortable expressing them. So I would imagine that you have a lot of similarities in that, you know, redefining who you are. Some of that is finding new things, but a lot of it is just uncovering, right? It's uncovering who you've really been all along, but you just want to let that fully bloom. You want to let that fully come out. You want to let that grow. You want to nurture that, as opposed to stifling it for the sake of others and what they wanted for you in the past, whether that was abusive people or other people, you know. And so yeah, I encourage you to reflect on what are those things that you need to protect and hold dear, because that is you know, like damn it, this is me, this is what I believe, this is what I want to do in life, and no one is going to tell me otherwise. So even if you don't feel safe to express it that extremely to others right now, you can express that in your artwork. You can express that in your journal. That is a safe space to let that out. You can express that in this group, in the group message that I'm going to start. You know, you can voice those things here and in your private art practice. All right. Nobody can say what you can or can't draw or write. You can practice voicing that for yourself. All right. Thank you, ladies. I will see you next week. Please let me know your questions. And again, I'll keep you updated on those coming updates over the next few months. And if you have any questions or concerns about that, please feel free to reach out. And I'll be contacting each of you this week about creating that group message in Facebook Messenger. All right.